Faster than writing to a letter forum, more thoughtful than angry clickbait, able to discuss the world's first superhero and comics film, TV, and more. It's the Supermaniacs. We are talking more Superman, Spider-Man comic book crossover. I am joined by Mike. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I somehow have 3 copies of this comic now.
Well,
but as did happen now.
better to have too many copies than not enough. This is one that I suspect will be hard to find in the coming weeks if it starts to sell out at the shops. But
yeah, the other one is already sold out as far as I can tell. They're already doing second printings for it.
So. And I have physical copies of both, but I know like they're was it this one that it doesn't have a digital release right now, or
it does as of today, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't have a digital. That's one of the reasons I have 2 copies. But I have physicals of both. I bought. Well, I think I mentioned it on Mike when I bought the Ed McGuinness cover, and then it turns out, yeah, you're gonna get the special signed one. I'm like, well, I don't want the signed one. I just wanted the normal one. But it turns out because of that, I got an email that I won't get it till mid-May because they have to actually get them to sign them. So I bought my secondary cover, which was this little guy, this guy here. I don't know if anybody. I don't forget which artist this is, but it's like I like this one a lot. It's got a lot of stuff going on in the background of it.
Yeah, the one where they're running with the green kryptonite effect behind them.
I'm trying to remember what the artist is for this one. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But this is going to be the one that's hanged next to the other one because I have the hard copy of the original one, original first printing.
I got the variant cover that was the Infinity Gauntlet homage. It kind of looks like I think it was Infinity Gauntlet #1 is the one that has Thanos on the cover holding up the Infinity Gauntlet. But instead it's Peter shooting his webbing, I guess.
Yeah, I went to the Rogues Gallery and I was sitting there being like, I don't know which one of these I want because everything except for the original cover were there, but I didn't want the original cover anyways. And so I picked another copy for my reading version, and this is my reading copy, which is the Wonder Woman, Thor, Spider-Man, Superman variant. That I'm actually just gonna give it to my girlfriend when I'm done because I think she would like it more than I would overall. But it's a great cover. It's a very good cover. And I'm actually happy that I own more of this one than the other one because I legitimately like this one a lot more.
Yeah, well, we were saying how the stories in this comic are a lot better than... Not that we hated the DC Superman Spider-Man crossover from March. We liked that, but we find ourselves liking this one quite a bit more.
I fucking cried multiple times reading this one than the other one because the other one I loved a lot. Like I cried just from the simple fact that I just didn't think it would happen again. I was just like, I live in a world where there's not just one, but there's 2 of these happening for this again. Like I wasn't sure I would ever live to see the day again, considering the way people are so careful about their IPs mixing because there's some IPs where I call them crossover horrors, specifically the Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah,
they cross over with anyone who'll give them $1.
Anyone at IDW, like if you go to work at IDW, you become a crossover whore. Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, Star Trek, Transformers, whoever, they will cross you over with anyone that will let them cross over with you.
If anyone asks them, there's a Naruto Ninja Turtles crossover. That's how
I believe it.
Much of a fucking crossover whore they are, and there's no explanation for it. They're just like, yeah, there's a New York in the world of the Naruto verse, I guess. It's like, sure, I guess let's go with that. But and then the one thing that won't cross over though with is Daredevil, ironically enough, which is a pain in the ass because that's the one thing I want them to cross over with. But that's that's not what we're gonna talk about. But before we get started, you did want to mention some news that we got today, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, it's something that Mayo Tango in the live audience commented on before we went live. But Jerry Conway, a legendary comic book creator and a guy that we talked about recently as the writer of the original Spider-Man and Superman crossover,
yes, which we did talk about.
Away.
What, last month? something like that.
Yeah, well, right before we talked about the first of the new ones.
Yes.
So,
And so his feel like his entire history is so incredibly impressive from beginning to end. The man started working on comics when he wasn't considered a man. He was like 14 or something. And Marv Wolfman was talking about that. He's like, yeah, at 14, that dude was writing circles around me. Like, and that guy wrote, you know, as you mentioned, the original Superman, Spider-Man. He co-created some of the most lasting characters ever.
Yeah, Punisher, a huge character.
The Punisher, Jason Todd. He helped co-create Jason Todd. He helped co-create Ben Riley.
He wrote The Death of Gwen Stacy, one of the most iconic Spider-Man stories.
He's in the Bronze Age. Yeah, he's the exact one that starts is his writing for the night Gwen Stacy died. There was another one that I mentioned that I popped up on here. I'm going to bring it up because there was another one that he did that caught me off guard that I didn't know he did. Oh yeah, he helped introduce Killer Croc. Is what it was. The guy was just fucking an absolute fucking machine. Like the guy just kept winning out one after the other. Like there's I can't even list everything because there's so much this man did, and his influence. This comic is full of his influence. Like like there's an entire Gwen Stacy story. There's the last story is very much like fault with that. There's some mentions of her throughout the last crossover, and there's mentions of the things that happen to Spider-Man consistently that he's done. And the man also wrote, you know, a really long amount of Superman stuff. Like the guy was a fucking powerhouse. He also did a lot of screen work, television work. He wrote some Star Trek stuff too at one point. The man's just it's just one of the most impressive careers a writer's ever had, and I don't think anyone will ever match that career that guy had because Marvel's not going to let a 14-year-old write for them ever again. The fact that happened then is fucking insanity to me because a lot of people forget because it's the way video games were. When video games were being made originally, you could just walk into a video game office and they'd be like, "Hey, you know what a computer is?" They're like, "Yeah, I can figure it out." And then you were a game developer. It was very similar.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like writing for Marvel and all those guys. They were just like, "Who gives a fuck? Can you write Spider-Man? I guess you're gonna write Spider-Man now."
Does he know how to spell? Well, hell yeah. He's better than everyone else in the office. Yeah, just put him in front of a typewriter. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get a script out, boy.
Yeah, he was 14. He probably was like paid in nothing. He's like, "Here's $20. Give me a Spider-Man."
Yeah, I'll give you the rest of my. You can have the rest of my Hershey's bar. If you get a script done by this afternoon,
I'll buy you beer, Jerry.
yeah, beer and cigarettes.
Stanley saying that to him. It'd be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he just goes to the New York City bodega like a block away and picks up.
You know what a Playboy is, Jerry? I'll pay you.
Find out if you can get the script done in time.
But sorry.
But yeah. But he wasn't that old now. He's like 72, I think. So
yeah, that's the thing is a lot of people thought he was much older because of the fact he'd been writing for so long. He was only like 73, which is pretty young for a lot of people.
Yeah,
especially in today's age. I don't mean that as in like the fact that 73 isn't old. It's just that in today's age, 73 is like actually not that long compared. Like Stan Lee made it to 93 or something.
Most comic book creators, they don't tend to have the nice wealthy retirement that some other industries, probably not
the unfortunate thing.
The best access to healthcare. A lot of the iconic comic book creators seem to die young, and not as well compensated as I think they should be from these big corporations that make billions off of these characters. So
yeah, the fact that this man created the Punisher and he's not like and the Punisher, Jason Todd, all these things, and he's not a multi-millionaire is like a pain. It sucks. It's like some of the man's work of the night Gwen Stacy died is referenced so much in literally everything. Like I've never seen it's impacted literally every fucking person on the planet. Alex Ross wrote an entire comic that ends with that being the shocking ending type of thing of somebody viewing that from within the Marvel universe. And then the same with a bunch of other writers who were like, but what if Gwen died for different reasons, and then wrote some of the most horrific shits ever made? But they at the end of the day, they were all still inspired by this specific moment. And it's been, people have homaged it and things. They've made jokes about it. Like, there's so many things. That's just one thing. One thing he did. Like, that blows my mind. Like, this man must have. I would have been so proud if I had this guy's career. I would have been proud of just that alone. And this guy could be proud of so much more than that.
Honestly, now that I think about it, he was one of the first comic book creator names outside of the big guys like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby that I started to notice and pay attention to, like him and Dan Jurgens and some of the other people that were involved in that triangle era of Superman, because one of the first comics I ever read, it's also one of the first ones I believe you said you ever read. For a lot of people, if you were a kid in the 90s, the death of Superman, that was like shoved in all of our faces. That was like everywhere. So,
yeah, he's the reason why him and Dan Jurgens are one of the reasons why Superman bounced back as hard as he did.
Yeah,
from a lot of stuff that people were like kind of iffy on after John Byrne left. Those two really, really cemented Superman as the modern version as he is now. And his version of Spider-Man is one of the most prolific Spider-Mans ever made. His version of damn near everybody is one of the most prolific versions of those people ever made. And I can't help but like be absolutely devastated that this guy's gone. But I'm happy he lived long enough to see another crossover between these two characters that he loved so dearly.
Yeah,
we read his forward and everything about him talking about writing the book when we talked about, and he was so proud. He was just beaming with like pride in what he had done, and it's just, God, it bums me out that he died now. Like, this is the year it all comes back full circle, and now he's gone. Just completely bums me out.
Yeah, rest in peace. You left a lot of good stories behind for us, though, so we'll always have those. But that being said, we can go ahead and start talking about the stories collected in Spider-Man, Superman #1. Mike, do you want to start? Well, I guess we can just go through them in order. With
let's go through them in order. And then, one,
later when we're done, we can reveal which one we think is our favorite.
Yeah, so the first one is written by Brad Meltzer, called Your Kryptonite. For people who don't know who Brad Meltzer is, nowadays he's actually more known for his book work. He's been writing novels for quite some time. But for people me and yours age, we know him for one of the best Green Arrow runs, which was Archer's Quest. We also know him as one of the most controversial storylines ever made for DC, called Identity Crisis. And he's done a few other things since then, but those are the two main things I remembered him for. And it was great to see him write in a way that were more of Archer's Quest than it was Identity Crisis. But as you didn't mention on Mike, but there's a lot of the good of Identity Crisis is within this comic, and it's a wonderfully drawn one because it's also, the art is done by Pepe Larraz, I think I'm sure that's how you say it. Larraz.
Yeah. What else has he done? Because I was really impressed with the art in this first story. Art Kryptonite.
I should have had that up. Let me look that up real quick, because he has done a bunch of other stuff that I know of. He did a lot of the X-Men runs. He did a really cool Spider-Man cover for the newest Spider-Man run, as well as I think the first chunk of that run. But he's really he did a lot of the X-Men stuff during the Krakoa era. And he's been doing Spider-Man for a good while now, at least recently. So he was a great choice for this. And this story is fantastic. It starts in the middle of like action. Like they wake up, beat up. surrounded by something. They don't know what it is. It's like you can't see. Superman can't see through it. Spider-Man, for some reason, Spider Sense isn't reacting to it. He can't stick to it. Like there's so much going on in it, and I love this whole beginning part because Superman like checks his Spider-Man's utility belt. And he's like, you know what, because he feels weak, and he's like, well, you don't have kryptonite on you on your belt, do you? He's like, why would I fucking? What's wrong with you? Who would do such a thing?
Yeah.
But
what kind of jerk superhero would carry kryptonite on his
I love
belt?
that.
The one thing that can weaken Superman.
Absolute psychopaths is basically, and then like, and eventually, whatever it is starts starting to crush them, and Spider-Man tries to keep them from getting crushed because at some point a goblin bomb shows up full of with just a random piece of kryptonite inside.
Yeah.
Of it.
It's cool how it's used. That instead of it exploding, it just the little jack-o'-lantern pumpkin bomb face just opens its mouth to expose the kryptonite to Superman. Like that's all it has to do. Is just
really
open
fun.
up.
It also shows that his webbing isn't like lead. Like it wasn't like if you web something down, it won't cause it to not make radiation pop out of it. So eventually it turns out this thing isn't what they thought it was, and Superman is trying to pep talk Spider-Man the entire time. It's super nice. I love their entire interaction. It's one of my favorite parts of the story. I think it's even better than even the Mark Waid one was, because Brad Meltzer. Here's the thing I'll say about Mark Waid is that as much as I love Mark Waid immensely, the man's really good at Superman, but I don't think he's really good at Spider-Man. Is what it comes down to. Where Brad Meltzer gets both of these voices down like fucking wonderfully. Like I don't know what it is about it, but he gets it as if it's like nothing.
To my knowledge, Brad Meltzer, has he ever worked for Marvel Comics? Has he ever written any of these characters? I know he's done a little bit of DC stuff, but I don't remember him ever doing Marvel.
He's never done a Marvel book. He's like I'm looking at his work here right now, and it's all a Green Arrow Identity Crisis. He did a small Superman Batman thing, some Justice League, one story in Action Comics 1000, a Buffy comic. He did one Marvel comic. He did one Spider-Man story.
Okay.
And it was in Marvel 1000, and it's the storyline where it's like the small story where everyone's asking Peter what his name is because they want to name their kid after him. So he keeps telling everyone, "My name's Ben," and so the story is that, hey, we're calling him Ben, because he tricks people into calling them Ben after his uncle instead of Peter, and it's a very sweet story, and it's one of the only times he's ever written him. Everything else outside of that, he's written like a shit ton of nonfiction books and some children's books. So it's kind of surprising that he's so good at writing Spider-Man. It's like I kind of want him to write Spider-Man.
I would give that a try, but this whole story, just the purpose of it is just to kind of create the situation, to have this dialogue, to have this rapport between Peter and Clark. Brad Meltzer really tries to get into the heads of these superhero characters and figure out their personalities and, what kind of people are we dealing with here and how would they interact. That was a big part of Identity Crisis, was like, well, if all these people like knew each other and worked together for years and years, what would Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne and Barry Allen and Hal Jordan's, like, what would their relationships with one another be like? How would Alfred interact with these other superheroes, supporting characters, and he really thinks about those type of those human conversations that these superhumans would have with one another.
Yeah, there's this great moment where when Spider-Man's trying to keep this thing from crushing them, where Clark is slowly kind of dying, and he's surprised by Spider-Man because this thing should be crushing us to death by now. But because he says his bone density, he's just like, your bone density, it's directorized. You shouldn't be able to handle this, but you're still doing it. You should be
collapsing right now. I can literally see inside of your bones. And it's such like, a big homage to, what was it, Amazing Spider-Man number 30 or whatever. Yeah. But when he had the famous issue when he had to lift the heavy thing on his back to
Yeah,
save
both
Aunt
him
May.
and Mark Waid like kind of reference it because Mark Waid's story has him lifting
Every
the thing off
Spider-Man
them.
story references it. The MCU referenced it. Like
Yeah, the
everyone
MCU
gets
has
around
it.
back to it eventually.
PS4 one had it. The Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon does it at one point. It's one of my favorite moments. But yeah, the fact that both of them decided to reference it, I think, is kind of hilarious. But and then eventually, like, Superman tries to help as much as he can.
Yeah, he's inspired by Spider-Man. He's like, despite the kryptonite, if you're gonna stand up to this oppressive force that's trying to kill us, then how can I not help but stand up too?
Yeah, and then comes the great reveal where it turns out the reason why the kryptonite's in there, because the kryptonite's slowly counting down. It's like kryptonite levels at like 80%, 90%.
Yeah, it's counting up to 100%. It's like something's going to happen. It's 90% to goal, 94% to goal.
Yeah, you find yourself wondering, why is it counting upwards instead of just killing him? It's like you're just killing him. But then it turns out the reveal is that it's not, what they're under is not a cave or something, machine or anything that's trying to crush him to death. It's a symbiote. And it's waiting for Superman to get weakened enough that it can try to control Superman, and it succeeds for the most part. And you get this really cool shot of a Venom Superman, of some kind.
It looks amazing.
It's a nice design. I'm not a huge fan of some of it, but it looks really
it was cool. I thought it was like, I like that they had like the Venom cape on it, and then like the Carnage claws. I don't know.
It was more the symbol. I was hoping the symbol would have a little more change to it, if that makes sense. But outside of that, I thought the rest of it looked pretty good. Because there's like, and it's a great moment where you see these very interesting designs for these characters. Because they're like surrounded by like stupidly powerful characters, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of the heavy hitters.
Yeah, when they come out, it's Kraven, Deathstroke, Taskmaster, Brainiac, Dr. Octopus. I can't tell who. I think that's an Amazo.
I was thinking maybe Amazo.
Because he's got a sword and shield, and I think to try to like mimic them, kind of almost the same way Taskmaster would. Electro, Parasite, Rhino, Doomsday.
It's funny to see Doomsday just kind of chilling with Rhino, like as if they were on the same power scale or something.
Yeah. And an armored Green Goblin, like a super heavily armored Green Goblin.
That armor looks good. That's how they should do Green Goblin, honestly. Like instead of the because like they'll never do like the rubber mask with like a live action Green Goblin, but instead of doing like the Power Ranger, the Green Ranger Goblin suit we all made fun of in the Raimi movie, I think if it like looked like this,
it's a good middle ground. It's a really good middle ground. But I really like what's going on because Superman is attacking because he's weakened at the moment. Spider-Man just sort of fucks with him. I love that Lex is like, "What the fuck's going on?" Like he's just making jokes, and he's like, he does that. It's fine. Eventually, Spider-Man, like, because Goblin doesn't underestimate him because he's like, look, he's a scientist. He knows what he's doing. And then Spider-Man, like, he flings the kryptonite across town as hard as he can, and then I think the assumption is that it's supposed to be the Venom symbiote, which is very strange, but I guess that's the idea. Because the symbiote ends up talking to him, saying, hey, he's fighting back because the kryptonite levels are decreasing. He then just he thunderclaps the suit off of him, which is such a cool visual.
Mm-hmm.
And Spider-Man just immediately starts fucking with the Goblin and Lex. And it's funny, again, that like some of these characters are surprised because it almost looks like Taskmaster and Doomsday are going to start running. Like that's how the panel's drawn. It makes them look like going, "Oh fuck, he's up."
We better book it.
That's the fuzz. But yeah, and then I love this panel. This is the one that you shared, where like Goblin and Luthor, they're like, they're literally saying your pals are already scattering. Doomsday ran. Doomsday's like, you know what? I'm good. I'm just gonna.
Doomsday, in his first story, fought through the entire DC universe to get to Superman and kill him. But he sees Superman and Spider-Man, and he's like, oh shit, I better get out of here.
He's like, Spider-Man's here? Well, fuck that. I'm fucked. And he just ran.
Doomsday is afraid of spiders. Doomsday has arachnophobia. We've figured it out.
Doomsday is arachnophobic.
That's spiders are Doomsday's kryptonite.
He basically just looks at Rhino and just is like, you know what? Let's just go get a drink. It's fine. I don't want to do this. And then yeah, Superman and Spider-Man just beat the shit out of him. But then comes my favorite part of my actual favorite part of this story, which is that Clark and Peter Clark follows Peter to the graveyard, and he's talking to Ben because he had asked him at one point, "Why do you do this?" And he starts to realize, hey, or he realizes because of the apparently when Venom got on them, it accidentally linked them mentally because Venom has been Spider-Man at some point, and also because when the symbiote went over him, it went over both of them at the same time, mentally linked them but spit out Spider-Man so it could control Superman. And so I love the fact that he's like, Clark is trying to evaluate why Peter does what he does, because he kept telling him, I do everything because of guilt. And he's like, that's not why you do it. You do it because you were raised by a good man, and you're a good man. And I legit cried at this entire sequence because after it's done, Clark mentions that, hey, you also have an item, because it turns out the watch that he had a watch in his utility belt. Turns out it's Ben's watch. That Clark carries one of Pa's glasses in his cape, in the little pouch that he usually has that most people forget about. And it's a really sweet moment. He invites Peter and Aunt May to dinner at the Kent farm, and it's just this wonderful scene. I love it. I highly recommend it just for the story by default. It's just, there's so many good stories in this one, and the feels hit me harder in this than it felt in any of the other ones, which is wild.
But yeah, the choices that they go with for a lot of these stories, just to make them like these little brief, I don't know, satisfying encounters between these two characters that you wouldn't normally get. But it would be so hard to tell like a big story between these two. I think that the fact that they were like, hey, instead of doing like one big story with like, galaxy ending stakes or something, let's just tell like a bunch of like little personal stories. And then that other stuff can just kind of be the set dressing. But I like that. Like this, like the conflict in here, like, why are these villains attacking these heroes? I mean, like who cares? That happens all the time in the Marvel or DC universe.
Yeah, there's no real reason for the story to be like, why did all these heroes or these villains team up to fight them? And honestly, the answer is because they're two of the world's greatest superheroes. Of course, you would need a gang of people. It's like a Sinister Six that's outside, essentially. And it just didn't work, as it turns out.
The meat and potatoes of the stuff is seeing things like Aunt May come to dinner on the Kent farm.
And it's wonderful, and they talk about Ben, and I love Jonathan being like, look, we would have been friends, type of thing. And ironically enough, the last story said, yeah, we probably would. They probably would have been good friends, based on the last issue where they did have an Uncle Ben Jonathan story.
Yeah, and I like oh, that's also an interesting point. It feels like none of these stories are in continuity with any of the the other ones.
None of them connect in a way that makes, because like every one of them, because the Mark Waid one treats it like Peter and Spider-Man have been working for a very long time, whereas this one treats it more like Superman doesn't know Spider-Man that well. Like he didn't really start to get to know him until after this. Like this almost feels like it would have been a prequel to the other one.
Right. Like this one should have come out first. Yeah.
And then the other thing is that the Jonathan, the Jonathan Ben story isn't in any of their continuities. And the same with even a lot of the other stories that happen without it or throughout it. Like none of them really connect to each other, which I find kind of funny. But that's more because there's no reason for them to.
Yeah.
They're all their own little universe, and I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think that was probably wise, just to, we're not going to deal with making these make sense to one another. Basically, it feels like they just went to like a bunch of writers and were like, pitch us your Superman, Spider-Man crossover story, and they just went with the ones they liked the most. But
There's something I did notice though that I didn't think about until right now. This book has more DC writers on it than the Marvel one did, or sorry, than the DC one did. I think I'd have to check on who the writers were on the other ones, but I just noticed who the writers on each of these. So it's Brad Meltzer, Dan Slott, Joe Kelly, Jeff Johns, Louise Simonson, Stephanie Phillips, Brian Michael Bendis, Jason Aaron, and Jeff Loeb. Half of those are more DC related, or more known for their DC stuff.
All of those people have written Superman.
Yes, every one of them at some point has written for the Man of Steel.
I don't know if Brad Meltzer ever wrote on a Superman title, but he certainly used Superman in Identity Crisis and Justice League and that stuff.
I know he did some backstory stuff.
Okay.
I know he did one thing in Action Comics 1000. He did one thing in Superman Batman's when he's at one point, but I think it was a backstory thing or a backup story. But yeah, I didn't realize how many DC people wrote for this one. I would have to triple check who did the other one again because I'm trying to remember. Because there was a lot of Marvel people on that one. Because Gail Simone was on that one, that other one. It feels almost like they traded writers too. You got me. I'm curious now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Superman Spider-Man comic now, and so on here it has I guess there's not like a list of writers in the front.
The list is usually like after the second story, because the first one's always, we already know who wrote the first one, but the second one is the one that I need to find the thing for. God, it's so difficult for some reason.
Tom King, so it's Mark Waid, Tom King, and then the Superboy Prime one. Who wrote that? Priest. Okay. Who
I know Sean Gard Murphy did the Superboy's 2099 one.
Yeah, and then Gail Simone wrote the Punisher Power Girl one.
So that one's like a big mishmash of them, where this one feels like people who did both more than the others.
It felt like everyone who could legally write for Marvel but had previously written Superman was hired for this.
Yeah, and because this one has a lot of heavy DC writers, but some of them, of course, are known for their Marvel stuff. Like Brian Michael Bendis, of course, is there's a reason why he's doing the story he's doing specifically. But Dan Slott has been writing Superman right now, and but he's also known. A lot of these people have written for both. I don't know if Jeff Johns has ever done a Spider-Man thing that I know of. But
no, because the only Marvel thing he wrote, I believe, was Avengers. But
okay, yeah. So then he's the only one that I feel like hasn't really worked on both sides as often. Because a lot of these guys are known more for their DC, except for Jason Aaron and Bendis, I feel. Because Dan Slott has done both as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the guys have definitely done both at some point. But I'll let you start in the next one.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's Dan Slott, right? It's the
it's the Dan Slott one. Metropolis
Marvels. So this is art by Marcus Martin. But yeah, this was another fun one. So I've never read any of the. I guess there was the Spider Noir, that's now becoming a movie on Amazon Prime, but the
Spider-Man Noir series.
Which I know he comes up in some of the Spider-Verse stuff, but he had like originally like a miniseries he was created in, right?
Yeah, he has 2 original miniseries, and then he died in the Spider-Verse for a hot minute there, and then the movies came out, and everybody's like, "Why did he die?" And they're like, "Okay."
Yeah. Well,
so
no one's ever really gone.
Yeah, they brought him back right after that, and when people were like, "How did he come back?" They're like, "Reasons," and then I'm serious. They don't even explain it. They just go reasons. He came back because of reasons. But the funniest part about Spider-Man Noir is that if you read anything from his original stuff, and then you will read everything post Into the Spider-Verse, they're two completely different characters. Because the
Mhm.
original one is more of a dark, gritty noir story where he barely ever uses. He has a gun, but he rarely ever uses it, type of thing. In fact, he stops using it pretty much immediately because somebody chastises him for it, and so he just doesn't use it. And but ever since the Into the Spider-Verse happened, he turned into a more adventure style pulp hero, like a fucking like one of
Yeah.
his last minis was so Indiana Jones ass fucking storyline. It's kind of amazing.
You have to
And
be
so
the
this is the
the
version of
family
that.
friendly hero now. A popular character. You're a household name.
Well, that's the funniest thing is that like this guy isn't is actually like he's both more family friendly and less family friendly because this motherfucker just like pulls a gun on Lex. Like he's like
Mhm.
and he uses
I
more of
mean,
his Into the Spider-Verse thing because he has a fedora on at all times because original Spider-Verse didn't have a fedora on.
I read this in like Nicolas Cage voice, I think, when I was reading. Uh,
I
but
get that. I actually still read it in Christopher Daniel Barnes' voice because of the Shattered Dimensions noir because he voices him in that.
yeah, that was a pretty popular game when it came out.
I
Um,
really loved the story a lot actually.
but yeah, I liked this one a lot too. It's a fun opening. It's very like I just kind of pictured like the Spider-Man with the gun. I just was like, well, like in the 1930s Batman comics before they figured out what they wanted to do with the character, he ran around with a gun for a little bit. Just kind of gave it that kind of golden age edge to it, I guess. But it's also very Action Comics #1. He is racing to capture Lex Luthor to expose him as the kingpin of crime, or as the big man, using some Spider-Man Marvel Comics terminology, but in Metropolis dealing with Lex. And then the yeah, so Spider-Man runs up into Lex's office building to shoot him with a gun, basically. And then Superman shows up faster than a speeding bullet, and Spider-Man mentions like, "Oh yeah, it's 1938. There's this new player in town. He's faster than a speeding bullet." But it's Superman in the Flesher animation style suit with the black and yellow and red crest that I fucking love. That I now have a McFarlane figure of. One of the best Superman designs ever. Thank you again.
We should get you a noir one now, a Spider-Man noir.
Oh yeah, then I can make them fight each other. Yeah.
I wonder if they make one. I'm sure they do.
If not, then they probably will soon with the movie coming out and stuff. But yeah,
No, it's a wonderful story, and I love that Superman says "Great Scott" in it as well.
Great Scott, you're a slippery fella. You
Yeah,
sure
'cause
are a
he's like,
slippery fella. Yeah.
it's just hilarious to me that he's still like kind of known for that exact thing, and it's very fun. It's a very fun little thing, and the story is not that long considering, but a lot of them aren't. But it's still a satisfying as hell story because Superman comes and saves Lex, and at first you think he's like, oh, he's just gonna be like, we gotta do this by the book or whatever. But then you're like, no, this is 1930 Superman, who's like, yeah, I'm here because I'm gonna fuck him up.
Yeah, so he leaps out of the skyscraper with Lex, and I guess it's very Action Comics #1. If you go read like the original Superman story when he made his debut in 1938, one of the stories in there was that he had to race to the governor's office to stop the wrong person from being executed. Is that what it was? Did he have like the killer in hand? He had like a confession, so he needed Lex to confess to being the kingpin of crime, or being the big man, because currently J. Jonah Jameson of the Daily Bugle is about to be executed. He was falsely accused and I guess convicted of being some major criminal and was given the death penalty.
They had framed him for being the big man.
Right.
Is what it seems to be. And what I love about this shot, though, of him grabbing Lex and jumping out the window, is it's Spider-Man's pose from Amazing Fantasy. And
it sure is, yeah.
Lex is doing the guy's he's holding pose as well, holding his head, being like, oh shit. And it's such a wonderful shot. It's like the whole thing is so fun because it feels less like a team up and more like I'm here to get to him before you do type thing. And I think that's a lot more. I think that's one of the more fun stories because of the fact it's not just a hey, we're going to team up to take down the big man. It's Superman being like, I need you to not kill this guy so I can take down the big man.
But I remember in the Grant Morrison Action Comics #1 from New 52 in 2011, like the very first issue, Superman jumps out of a Metropolis skyscraper holding some big rich guy who, like, he wasn't paying his workers, or maybe he was like the slum lord whose tenants were living in shitty housing or something. But basically, like, Superman like takes like this rich guy out of his tower and leaps down to the streets with him to like scare the shit out of him. And you see yeah, this is very much like that Golden Age style Superman who's like, he's not afraid to scare a rich man into confessing to his crimes.
Yeah, because he does it to Morgan Edge in the New 52 one. Like that's the first person he gets is Morgan Edge because the guy's like freaking the fuck out the whole time. It's funny because Jameson's like upset that not that he like he's happy that he's free, but he's super upset because the story about him being free isn't in the Daily Bugle. It's on the Daily Planet.
Yeah, so of course Superman Clark Kent got the exclusive story. Luther squawks, Jameson walks. But when JJ is in the diner, talking shit to a Peter Parker and Clark Kent, they're just kind of chilling in there having their coffee and their breakfast. But he's all pissed off. Like, how did we not get the story at the Daily Bugle? And he's mad at Peter Parker, telling him like he doesn't want to pay him anymore. And then he has this insult to Clark Kent, where he's like, "Oh, that's a great story. If you ever want to come work for me at the Bugle, I'll pay you almost half as much as they pay you at the Planet." Like, in other words, he's like, "You're overpaid, Kent. You're not that good of a writer after all."
He's really funny. Like, it's such a great Jameson thing, and he's only on one page of that story. It's just so hilarious that he immediately just tells them both to go fuck themselves, like without he does it politely to Clark, but he tells Peter to go fuck himself. And it's got this little fun thing where he's like, I almost got sent the chair. He's like, yeah, but you didn't. But thanks to Superbad. And Clark just goes, I couldn't have said it better myself, Peter. And Peter just looks kind of pissed at him.
But yeah,
old bastard.
But also his spider sense goes off, and so he knows that Clark Kent is Clark Kent is Superman.
Yeah.
And Clark really probably knows that Peter is Spider-Man because masks don't really do shit when you're a Kryptonian with X-ray vision.
Also forgot to mention that Superman does in fact only jump in this story as well.
Yeah, so he's like that flightless Golden Age Superman. He leaps over buildings in a single bound.
Yeah, while Lex screams in his ear. It's hilarious. This next story was very bittersweet.
Yeah, you mentioned that you cried a couple times reading this, right?
So the first one I cried in. This one didn't make me cry, but made me. It just bummed me the fuck out. But at the same time, I loved it.
It made me cry.
It bummed me out. Yeah, the reason it bummed me out was the fact that because of the implication of it all, it almost made me cry. But that's because of just how bitter fucking sweet the story is. And what it is that it's called Sweethearts. This is by Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly is the current writer of Spider-Man at the moment. He's done a lot of Spider-Man since Brand New Day. And Humberto Ramos, he's an artist that he's about 50-50 depending on how much time you give him. I think he brought his A game in this one. But what's great about the story is that this is not only a Spider-Man story, it's a Superboy story, technically.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I was reading it. It's
so,
college age Peter, or it's, I guess Peter Parker is frequently college age, but it's college age Clark Kent, college Superman.
Yeah,
like the old TV show.
Yeah, for some reason Clark and Peter are the same age instead of being, Clark being older. And the implication is they're probably at most 19. At most, because they're in college, and the story revolves around Lana meeting Gwen Stacy after being at a lecture, and there's a lot of really fun things about like Gwen being like a kind of big, accidentally big citying on top on Lana's like small town energy, and eventually they realize like, hey, we can be friends after they get cat called, and they both immediately like fuck these guys up. And they're like, you know
Yeah.
what, we can be friends. And what's great is that they both start talking about their love interests essentially, because they're talking about how much they love New York and how much they love Smallville and stuff. And he's like, but there's two things they love more than they love the cities they lived in or where they came from, and that is their two love interests, which is Lana talks about Clark in such a wonderful way, talking about how I've known him for so long. I've known him for like was adopted by good people. He's one of the greatest people I know.
Yeah, the
And
kindest person in Smallville.
yeah, and at the same time, Gwen is talking about how much she loves Peter Parker, the man she met, and she feels like, and they all talk about how similar the two of these people seem to be. Adoptive parents, you know, raised by their aunt or uncle, one of the best people I know. Very closed off emotionally because they don't know. Because in this continuity, apparently Lana doesn't know that Clark has superpowers yet. What's great is that it shows that Superboy here is saving people from Sandman while Spider-Man's fighting Metallo, which is hilarious to me. And it's great because they're like talking about how, you know, they both seem like they inspire them to be better people, to be the best selves, and that they also have the worst excuses on the planet for being late.
And how they're both like such contradictions. Like they both like they care so much, but yet for some reason like they're not there when they're supposed to be, and like they put up these walls, but you can tell like they want to be close, and then they always have like these lame excuses, but they seem like they want to be accountable people. So there's all these strange contradictions around both these boys.
Yeah, and then comes the part that hits you like a fucking freight train. Because after all of this, after everything they both say this at the exact same time. I think I'm going to marry that guy.
That made me tear up when I was reading that. I teared up at the first story and then again at this one.
It hit me like a freight train. I was like, oh my god. I felt like such garbage. Because I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Because at least with Lana, you're like, well, Lana, you know, it turns out you weren't his person. I'm fine. Like, you know, that's fine. It happens to people. Sometimes it's the young love, that sort of thing. Gwen, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Gwen. You lose your dad, and then you lose your life, and then you get cloned a bunch of times and die a bunch of times. It's a whole thing, Gwen. But I love the ending, and this is the main reason it's clearly a Superboy's type story, is because Clark is just a college student still. He's not like a big thing.
Yeah.
And I love how they both have opposite stories where Clark's like, well, I had some issues with sand, and Peter's like, I ran into water.
But they're like covered in sand and water as they approach the girls.
Yeah, and then they laugh, and it says end, and I'm just sitting there going, "Aw." I felt so bad, and I was like, you know what, this is a different universe. Maybe these kids will make it work. Who knows? This is a universe where Superman exists. Maybe the Goblin can be stopped this time.
True. That would be kind of cool to see. Just to see it not go poorly. But it was a little weird to me to put like Clark Kent and Peter Parker at like let's put them both in college at the same time. But then I thought, well, it's kind of like let's make Clark and Lois the same age as Jimmy Olsen, and that works really well in My Adventures with Superman. So
it's the only way to make this specific story work.
Yeah,
because Gwen meaning a Lois like later on in life would be weird, but also Gwen meaning Lana after the fact would also feel weird. And so the idea that they're both all so young that the world hasn't really changed for them yet.
Olivia Miller in the live audience is asking us, is Lena Luthor in any of these storylines in either of the issues, and
She is not, unfortunately.
no. But
In fact, some of the characters, because I also saw them mentioning that they wish there had been a Superboy Connor Kent story,
yeah,
and there
yeah,
isn't any of that either. Like, because
he doesn't appear in either. They put Superboy Prime in one of
there's
these,
also
but
not a
not Connor
Jonathan
Kent.
story either. I felt like if anyone, if anyone should have met, which frustrates me because Bendis decided to do what he did. I'll get to that in a second. But it should have been a Jonathan Kent Miles story instead of a Clark Miles story. Like
Okay.
a legacy character story. It would have been a better idea, in my opinion. Because everybody tried to
Yeah.
match them in some way. Because the Superboy Prime kind of tried to match because it was like, well, dark suits, Spider-Man, that kind of thing. Even though it wasn't the same. Even though that turns out it wasn't the same timeline or time area. But I can kind of see what the idea was there.
Well, two of the creators I was super excited to see what they were going to do in this comic, Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. I was a huge fan of their run of Action Comics, and I like pretty much almost everything Jeff Johns wrote. Not quite everything, but most everything he wrote. I
Everything
super
he's
liked.
ever done for Superman is some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Though. Superman Brainiac is the two of them. The Superman, not what you're one. Secret Origin was the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that's just the two of these guys. This one
Yeah.
is the one that made me cry as well. This is the other. This
Okay.
is the other one that definitely made me cry
So
because
let's.
of just how fucking heartfelt it was.
What was it called? Identity War. Let's talk about
Yes,
Identity War.
this is more of a story about the Thing
Yeah, it's all
overall.
from Ben Grimm's POV. We're in his head this whole. And Jeff Johns is another guy like Brad Meltzer. Jeff Johns is really great at trying to figure out like what is this character's voice, like how would they describe the world around them, what makes them tick, how do they think of these other super powered individuals that they interact with, and yeah, like I love Jeff Johns writing the Thing.
It's so fun. He because the plot of this one's kind of crazy. Because the funniest thing about this specific one is that Spider-Man's only in like one panel, I think, of the entire story. Because it's more about the Thing dealing
It's
with
like Jeff
his
Jeff Johns has no interest in Spider-Man. He wanted to
yeah
write a Thing and Superman crossover.
yeah because the plot of it involves a team up of Superman, the Thing, Captain America, Stargirl, She-Hulk, and Green Lantern, which Jeff Johns is really good at writing Green Lantern, as well as Stargirl, of course, because he helped
He
make
invented
Stargirl.
her, yeah.
And so so the storyline is very strange because Mysterio somehow gets a hold of like a mystical Red Lantern and uses it because he's given it to by Saturn Queen, which is like
Right.
a
Of the Legion of Supervillains.
yeah from the Legion of Supervillains, and he uses it to somehow cause the Hulk's rage to turn into like
Yeah.
a big like amplifier
Yeah,
that causes just everyone in the world to just be pissed at each other.
because that's like the Red Lantern thing. Like the Green Lanterns are powered by willpower, the Red Lanterns are powered by anger. So if you're gonna have Marvel and DC together, who's the angriest person? Is probably
we're
the
lucky
Hulk.
that we're lucky that the Red Lantern didn't power up the Hulk.
Yeah, I've always like ever since the Red Lanterns were invented when Jeff Johns was writing Green Lanterns, I was always thinking like, what if there was a Red Lantern Hulk in like a Marvel DC crossover? And I was like, well, they'll probably never do another one of those. But then here we are.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is that he's not given power by it either. He's not
Yeah,
like he's being amplified. Like the lantern is like bouncing off of him instead of turning him into a Red Lantern. Because if you made a Red Lantern Hulk, that motherfucker would be unstoppable. Like full stop. Like I would not want to fuck with that guy. If I was Sinestro or any of the other lanterns and I saw a Red Lantern, Red Hulk, I'd be like, you guys win. I don't want to. I'm not fighting that thing. You deal with that shit.
yeah. But Mysterio, it seems like was kind of manipulated by Saturn Queen and dealing with some powers above his pay grade. I think is how the Thing describes it, and this kind of gets out of control for him. But the the Red Lantern charged Hulk is able to, I guess, put out enough like anger into the world that like through Mysterio and his things and Saturn Queen, who's like this powerful telepath. It's directing that anger into everyone's head. So everyone in the world is angry. Everyone is fighting, and there's DC and Marvel superheroes both who exist here, and they're fighting each other.
Yeah, the funniest part is seeing some villains fighting each other who normally would be kind of the person who would do something like this, like Eclipso is getting beat up by the lizard at
Yeah, there's a lot of
one point.
and Gary Frank drawing the Legion. I remember when they did the Legion of Three Worlds back during Final Crisis. That was
Yeah.
Jeff Johns and
He
Gary
also
Frank.
did they also the two of them did a Superman and the Legion of Superheroes
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
That's really good that the two of them did as well.
It's all those designs, and like Connor Kent shows up, but he's in like his blue jeans and black T-shirt, like he was when Jeff Johns wrote him. Like everything is back to the way it looked when it was Johns and Gary Frank.
Yeah, it's great because he uses the nothing moves the blob line while he's fighting him. And
Yeah,
it's just little, it's
Blob
just
versus Connor. Connor Kent does appear very briefly in here, so
yeah,
Olivia
but it's
Miller
not really
asking
like,
about that.
yeah,
But
it's not really about him though,
you know,
type of thing.
there's one panel of Connor punching the Blob and not moving him, and the Blob unfazed says nothing moves the Blob. So
Yeah,
not Connor in his greatest, but
and it's funny because their explanation for why everybody, because there's only some people who manage to shake off the rage thing. Superman because he's Superman, of course. Captain America because he's Captain America, of course. Stargirl was a very sweet one because she's this teenage kid who believes in people, which is very nice. She-Hulk because she's used to rage, and Green Lantern because he's fought back against being a Red Lantern a few times, and I like the fact that he says I've done it twice,
yeah.
and Ben's just like that fucking asshole.
He's like this little bubble of Hal Jordan's face pops up to correct Ben Grimm's narration of the story. That's a cool comic book thing. Like you can only do this in a comic; it wouldn't work in any other medium.
Yeah, and it's a really fun. And Ben's kind of like they say Ben's not sure why he's somehow not immune per se, but he's able to scratch it off. It's kind of obvious why Ben is, to be honest, outside of even the story, which is the man's dealt with. But I will get to that point. But they decide that the best plan is they're going to try to calm the Hulk down, and then that's when this panel pops up where Hulk just fucking backhands.
It's a great panel. Like Gary Frank's angry Hulk face was punching Superman, saying his catchphrase "Hulk smash,"
and there's just slobber flying out of his mouth, showing just how unhinged he looks. And then Ben tries to be like it's clobbering time, and then the moment that made me cry pops up, which is that Superman does it's this is the reason why this exact moment is the reason why the ending to Doomsday Clock works, is because there's only one character in the entire planet in all of the universes that I can see pulling off this part of the story, and the way Doomsday Clock does the same thing, where Superman just doesn't fight. He stands there, grabs the Hulk, and just starts talking instead. Clark doesn't even look upset as he's talking to him, and I love that Hulk's face slowly starts getting softer. I love the part where the Thing just goes. He started to think. He started to get slower, and I'm pretty sure he even cried, and that's when I started crying. And it was wonderful where he's just like, "You're safe, Bruce." And then they took out the stragglers, of course. And Doctor Strange and Zatanna were able to make sure everything was all good on the Mystic side. And then comes this wonderful little conversation between him and Ben, where he's just like, everybody fought each other because they wanted to be, he wanted everyone to convince each other that they hated each other. It's like, because if they don't think they hate each other, the fight is pointless. Because it's like, why are we fighting, basically? And I like that. He says, "You think we're all on the same side?" He's like, "Yeah, I really think that." He's basically telling Ben, "I think everybody is good in their own ways. It's usually just comes down to some type of hatred of something that's causing them to maybe be that way, possibly." and he's always willing to give people a chance. And he's like, it's not always clobbering time, Ben. And then the ending is so sweet of Ben just bringing Bruce some donuts, and I was bawling my eyes out.
Yeah. Oh, this is a story that like I wish it could be in continuity. Like I love the idea of like Superman looking the thing in the face and telling him like it's not always clobbering time. Like yeah, that's like he needs to hear that.
It's wonderful, but it's and the way the reveal kind of is just that the idea that the reason Ben was kind of not so much immune to it is that he's just always kind of angry. The clobbering time is just his way of getting his frustration out.
He's always suppressing his anger instead of dealing with it, and
it makes sense, like because Ben has been upset with his life for quite some time.
Yeah.
You know, he flew up into a spacecraft with his friends, illegally, of course, but he did, and he turned into a thing, a literal thing, and he has to deal with that, and he's upset about it, and you know, it's anger that just hasn't been dealt with, and everyone has had that at some point in their life. And it's a good reminder by Superman that anger isn't the best way to deal with everything. Sometimes you just gotta reach out and just be nice. And I was bawling my eyes out. Again, it's the reason why this works. It's the reason why Doomsday Clock works. Because I talked to a lot of people about Doomsday Clock when they're like, I didn't really like the ending. Because Superman.
Oh, I love the ending. Oh, that's
because people who don't understand Superman are like, well, he didn't. They don't ever really fight Dr. Manhattan. I'm just like, yeah, that's the point though. Dr. Manhattan's all powerful, and he's assuming that somebody's going to take him out. But instead, the only other thing, maybe as powerful as him, just goes, I don't fucking care about anything you've just told me. You're looking me dead in the eye, being like, "Well, everything is because that's happened is because of me." And he's like, "Cool, I'm still going to protect you, even though Clark doesn't know he's all powerful. He just knows that somebody's about to attack him." Punches him behind Dr. Manhattan, and just goes, "Do whatever you want, man. I gotta go save the day." And it's wonderful. It's like the only character in all of the DC universe. If that story happened and Batman was the one to do that, I would have called bullshit. If Green Lantern did it, I would have called bullshit. Even if Wonder Woman, I probably still would have called bullshit on it. Not because I don't think Wonder Woman would do it, but because it's not as impactful without it being Superman, because he is the first real superhero, and the story is so much about a man of action, Superman in Action Comics, against a man who doesn't do anything, even though he's all powerful. And that's why that story works for me. Sorry, I'm on a tangent, but that's again, Jeff John understands that about Superman better than anyone.
The next time Watchmen becomes relevant again, it'll be a good excuse for us. We could do like we'll have to split it up into 2 different shows, but we can do a Doomsday Clock revisit.
That would be fun. It's funny because the way my bookshelf is set up is that I have Watchmen, and then I have the Button, that one story that connects the two, and then I have Doomsday Clock right next to it.
But yeah, I think of that as I'll put it this way: that is my Watchmen sequel. That's the continuation that I like.
It's a sequel that I thought I wouldn't like, and then it was delayed to hell, and people were kind of iffy about it. But when I read the whole thing from beginning to end, I was like, okay, this, in my opinion, we got both of the finales around the same time for that and the Watchmen television show.
The TV show beat the comic by like a week.
Yeah, they were both fantastic. I'm like, I got 2 great alternate Watchmen sequels. I'm happy with life. That's fantastic.
But yeah, I don't know many other people who've read Doomsday Clock and liked it as much as we do. So we should mainly I don't know many people who like finished it because everyone got tired of the delays. So a lot of people
so many delays
gave up and didn't make it through all 12 issues. But
it's because it was supposed to originally like set up a bunch of stuff that never happened because they had gotten too far forward.
Yeah. But remind me. Who was the writer and artist on Doomsday Clock?
It was both of these guys, Jeff Johns and Gary Frank.
So they just reused their same ending that they had already come up with.
Man, Gary Frank, I love his Superman immensely because he draws like this weird alternate Christopher Reeves version of him every time. He's so good at it. He's not good at drawing a teenage or small child Clark Kent, but he's good at everything else. Because if you guys remember our Secret Origins, that was hard to look at.
Yeah, yeah, but I guess in here you get Christopher Reeve face Superman hanging out with the Thing, not with Spider-Man, but yeah, this is Superman slash the Thing. It's
Yeah,
written
that's
by
the
Jeff
funniest part.
Johns.
Everybody else had like different characters interacting. This one had like more other people with Superman instead.
This was
that was really funny.
This was a story that Jeff Johns had in a file in his drawer for like just in case I ever get to write a DC Marvel crossover. This is what I want to do. I think that's what happened here.
Maybe we'll finally get that secret crisis that's mentioned in Doomsday Clock.
Well, it was a secret.
Yeah. The next one is really fun. This one's called Ghosting by Luis Simonson with Todd Nuck as the artist, who's a
Yeah.
big prolific guy.
I love the art in this.
Yeah, that guy's done a really great stuff. I forgot what else. He's worked on a lot of different stuff over the years. I can't say them off the top of my head, but he's a very prolific artist, and it's a great story. It's a great little short story about the Hobgoblin robs steelworks of a prototype set of dust or something that it's kind of magical is the best way of putting it. Like it disrupts sensors and stuff and can make people invisible if worn.
It's a cool effect when it's deployed, like when the Hobgoblin throws out this dust that kind of swarms over him, and he kind of has like an invisibility cloak effect.
Yeah, and it's really fun because it's just, Hobgoblin fucking with Steel as Steel chases him down. Because I love Steel. Steel's one of my favorite Superman supporting cast members who's not one of the Kryptonians.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that it's not just a crossover between these two, but it turns out it's a crossover with Thor, because Thor just fucking annihilates Hobgoblin with his hammer, because he tries putting on the thing. Because what was it called? He calls it because Hobgoblin wants to rename it as Ghosting.
Oh, Steel Dust.
Steel Dust. It's originally called Steel Dust, and he's like, I'm going to call it Ghosting, and then it turns out it does make him invisible, but his fucking glider starts malfunctioning. And then Thor just fucking, just destroys that. That man's ribs must be shattered because he's just got hit by Mjolnir like super hard. And then my favorite part is the reveal, which is it turns out this was all a ploy by the two of them to test Steel Dust to see what it actually does to different types of technology that's not Steel's. And I found that really fucking funny. that Thor and Steel both were like, yeah, that worked out better than expected. And then it's just the sweet little moment where the two shake hands and they're just like, that was fun. And it's a fun little story. It's short, it's sweet. It didn't blue ball me at any point.
Yeah, the story didn't really stand out to me, but I liked the art so much. I love Hobgoblin and Thor, so it was fun to see the two of them pop up in this comic. I think they're just like visually really cool characters too.
Yeah,
but Louis Simonson,
old school outfits too.
Louis Simonson was also part of the Superman team back in the old Triangle era, and like during the death of Superman. And she's Walt Simonson's wife, who is like the most famous Thor writer of all time. So
that explains a lot, actually. Yeah, they're coming out with for people who don't know, I looked it up because I got curious. The third Triangular Omnibus comes out later this year. So they're still making the Triangular Omnibuses. So I definitely need a new shelf because I ran out of room a very long time ago. This does come down, though. It does show an issue that I have had with these crossovers, which is the fact that these stories should have had more. They should have been able to have more, if that makes sense. These guys, this was what, like 4 pages long? 1, 2.
Yeah.
4. It's 5 pages long. It's a 5-page story. Like it's one of those things because one of the covers is a Thor Steel cover, and you're expecting them to like hang out more, but Thor himself doesn't make it his actual appearance till the last fucking page.
So they cheers their hammers, Steel and Thor. They like toast by clinking their hammers together.
That is my favorite part though, because I still had fun with it, but it's one of those things where I'm like, the way some of these covers are, you really wish some of these stories had more time to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a little teasery to have like a cover of Thor and Steel together, and then in the actual comic it's just one page. But that's what I'm saying. That like the point of these stories, they're not really to tell stories. They're to have like these moments between the characters, and like here having the Hammer Bro moment. That's like the Hammer Brothers from Mario, but like like they're them toasting their hammers, clinking their hammers together. It was, I guess, the whole point. That was the whole point of the Hobgoblin stealing the steel dust.
It's such a fun one. The next one is one of my favorites of the alternate stories as well.
Yeah.
This one's called Remarkable, by Stephanie Phillips and Phil Noto.
Another good. I really love Phil Noto. Like he's one of the top Marvel artists from the last 10 years for me. I think he's
really good.
Yeah, anything he draws is super readable for me.
100%. This one's fun because from the get-go, it's kind of hilarious, which is that Ghost Spider or Spider Woman, depending on what you like better,
or Spider Gwen, as people call her, but that's never her name in universe.
Yeah, never in universe is her name, except for one time, and it was more like a joke because of it. She decides to visit Metropolis because she wants to get Superman's autograph, and she's like, everyone knows about Superman, you know, the alien who came to Earth with godlike powers and wants to fight for truth and justice. And then she's like, and she sees somebody flying towards her, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's Superman!" And it turns out Supergirl shows up, and she's like, "Oh man, this is bullshit." And I love that Supergirl's like, "Man, this is bullshit." Neither of them seem to know who each other is, which I find hilarious. That Ghost Spider wouldn't know who Supergirl is in this universe, but I do understand the idea that Supergirl doesn't know who Ghost Spider is because she has this great line that you have here where she's just like, "I don't even know which fucking spider person you are. There's so many of you, man. I can't keep up with this bullshit." And it's fun from the get-go. It says everything about these two characters right away. And then came one of my favorite little Superman villains that pops up, which is Livewire. Livewire is attacking. And the both of them team up right away. And then Livewire just goes down pretty quickly. But again, these stories aren't designed to be super long. But I love the idea that Supergirl and Ghost Spider immediately try helping these people and take out Livewire. And it's this fun little moment that ends where they still kind of like talk shit to each other. And then it turns out Supergirl signs her book. And they're just like, you know what? You know, they're both so stubborn, but they end up liking each other at the end because they have a lot more in common than people think.
Yeah, I'm glad they did this because like a lot of people that are, if you're a big fan of Spider Gwen or Ghost Spider or whatever we're gonna call her, then maybe you would also like some Supergirl stuff. Maybe check out some Supergirl. So I feel like, you know, we kind of live in like this big Spider Gwen era now. Like after the movies, she's gotten a lot of exposure. People seem to really like her. So hopefully, with Kara getting a movie this year, that maybe some people will get invested in that character as well.
It's so funny to me that she's as big as she is, and I don't mean that as by saying she's a bad character. No, I love Spider Gwen. It's that according to Dan Slott, she was just a quick idea that he had. He was like, "Hey, what if we had a Spider-Man that was Gwen?"
Yeah,
and somebody else took it and ran with it, and they're like, and it was basically just not a joke, more as it was like an Easter egg type of thing. But like, yeah, it's kind of fun. You know, a world where Spider-Gwen, or Spider-Man, or Peter Parker didn't get bit and he died, and Gwen is now the Spider person, and the reason I say that it's funny because there's one other character who was introduced at the same time who they thought was going to be the next big thing, who is now sort of on their way there because also because of the movies, which is Penny Parker. Penny Parker was made for Spider-Verse by Gerard Way, who is known for, Umbrella Academy, as well as being on My Chemical Romance. They were like, we got him. He made up a whole new original character. It's going to be the next best thing. We made like a shit ton of copies of this Penny Parker issue, and we made like 12 Spider-Gwens because no one's going to give a shit about that. No one gave a shit about Penny Parker. Everyone bought every Spider-Gwen copy in 8 seconds, and they're like, oh, we should probably... Because when you read that Penny Parker issue, it's clear she was supposed to be like a way bigger part of that story. And then like midway down slot's like, oh, I'm going to slowly make Spider-Gwen more important. And then the rest is history from there. But Penny has since gone up in popularity because she's shown up in a lot of stuff, like a lot of games and stuff like that, as well as Gwen. So those two ended up sharing everything after all. But yeah, Olivia Miller asks about this one. I do legitimately like this one quite a bit. This characterization of Supergirl really works for the two of them with each other, especially like I feel like both movie versions of Supergirl and Spider-Gwen would be really good friends because they both deal with a lot of shit, a lot of PTSD type stuff.
Well, we can move on to the next one, the Brian Michael Bendis one.
I'm gonna say this right away. This is my least favorite story in this issue.
Well, you know what? I was curious about this one because Bendis is a writer that I've been frequently frustrated by, but I think it's fair to say he has written both some of the best Spider-Man comics I've read, but also some of the worst Superman comics I've read. So I was thinking 100%. This could go either way. But yeah, let's discuss. What's the name of this one? The one thing. Okay.
Yeah. So this one frustrated me immensely. So Miles is just swinging around, doing what a Miles can, and he's just like, well, I'm kind of bored. There's nothing crazy happening. And then there's this large explosion. He's like, oh, I think maybe it was a meteor. Maybe it was a piece of Stark tech that crashed. Yeah. And then he finds
injured Superman
with some crazy shit on him. What I love about the Superman, though, is that Bendis, I don't know who decided this. I'm assuming it was a call by, I want to say it's the artist. Who did the art on this one again?
It is
Sarah Pichelli.
Sarah Pichelli.
Or Pichelli. I'm not sure how to say that. I don't want to mess it up. But they're using my second favorite Superman outfit he's ever had, which is I call it the Superman Reborn outfit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things mark Rebirth as the one with the blue boots, and then post Reborn is this outfit. But so it's technically both. It's Rebirth it's Rebirth version 2. Okay. But I call it the Superman Reborn outfit.
This is after he's like merged with the New 52 and the
pre-52.
The pre-52, yeah.
And so they become whole again because it turns out they were Superman Red and Blue the whole time.
Yeah.
And so it's part of the Superman. That's why I call it the Superman Reborn suit, because that's for the storyline it appears in. And so it turns out Superman has this like magical bomb on him that's like kryptonite somehow that Spider-Man shoots into the air and just explodes. I did laugh at the fact that he's like, hey, thanks, man. Thanks, son. What's your name? And he just goes, it's Miles Morales. And he's like, I don't know why I fucking told you that.
Yeah, it's Miles Morales. I mean, Spider-Man.
It's so funny because it feels more like Bendis fucking with the fact that he's called Miles Morales Spider-Man. And the two of them is like, thanks for helping me out. And then came just the most insane idea for a story I've ever heard. The idea that Brainiac and Dormammu are teamed up. And this is another instance of like, what are the two of you going to do about this?
Well, yeah, why Dormammu? Like, of any Spider-Man villain to go with, like, why would you go with?
Well, the fact that he's not even a Spider-Man villain.
Right, he's a Doctor Strange villain.
He's a Doctor Strange villain who is almighty and powerful. That I don't think Superman could fight even if he wanted to.
Yeah, like Superman sucks against magic. Like Superman is as good against magic as like Aunt May is against magic.
Yeah, I'm fine with it being a magic villain, but it would have made more sense if it was like a like a Doctor Strange Superman team up or something. You know what I mean? Like, or anyone else that's not somebody who's magical in some way, like a Zatanna fucking Black Cat team up or something. Something that makes more sense. But instead, it's this insane idea that Superman has to fight Dormammu, who's going to create a dimension to the dark dimension to make an apocalypse, and Miles stays though. But that's one of the only nicer things about this is the fact that Miles doesn't immediately go, but doesn't go. That's out of my pay grade. I don't think I can do any of that. And so he well, then comes the thing about Bendis is that Bendis just has a lot of dialogue. Just a shit ton of dialogue. The man loves dialogue up the wazoo, and the story is mostly more about Miles asking Clark, "Hey, you're the superhero. You're the man. You're the guy. You're the first who's ever done this. I've been doing this for a hot minute, but I would love to know your thoughts on like what's something I might be missing as a superhero." And the fact that Superman's just showing up. That's really what it comes down to. Like, you figure out the hardest part, which is that you are there. I just told you that Dormammu and Brainiac have teamed up, and you didn't immediately go, "I shit my pants, I have to go," like most people would have, type of thing.
Yeah, I actually like the advice Superman gives Miles about you don't need to worry about if you're doing the right thing. Just the fact that you're there trying is that you're doing what you need to be doing.
It's one of the things that Superman. That's another thing about Superman that I like. Because here's the thing: Bendis wrote some of what I consider real bad Superman comics, but Superman never felt off in his storylines. The stories has made no sense, but Superman himself always acted like Superman for the most part, and so he still understands the idea that Superman's like, I am not going to sit here and be like, "Whoa, the most important thing is you drink your OJ in the morning or something." No, he's not going to say some infomercial shit. He's going to be like, doing the right thing. It just involves trying to do the right thing, and the fact that you're trying already speaks volumes to his character.
The fact that you're so worried about it, the fact that you're so worried about being an asshole who's not doing the right thing, it is probably a good indicator that you're not an asshole who's not doing the right thing. Like, if you were, then you wouldn't be worried about it. So the fact that you're worried means that you already know what to do because you're
already there. And the other reason this is my least favorite story, outside of the fact that this is the most unhinged set of superheroes to fight this set of villains I've ever seen, is the fact that this is another kind of a blue ball ending, where you never see how they defeat this thing. Because honestly, I don't think Bendis knew how they were going to defeat this thing.
No.
And so he's just like, we're gonna go punch a giant demonic robot spaceship in the face, and it ends with great power, and that's the last line of this story. And I'm like, you know what, Bendis, I don't like this story that much.
No, I'm gonna defend it a little bit because it's like I was saying, the satisfaction of these stories just comes from the character interaction moment and not so much the story that they're in. So I got enough out of the conversation. I like that Miles is like, okay, if I could ask Superman anything, I'm just gonna ask him for some advice. I'm just gonna be super direct. And then Superman's like, I'm gonna give this kid one response. I guess this is what it'll be. I like that stuff enough that
my only issue comes down to the fact that it's like the setup is kind of insane. The storyline itself is insane. Like, it's the issue I had with the Superman run, which is that he had very weird ideas and didn't know where to go with them, but he knew how to do all the character moments in between. So all the character moments in Bendis' stuff is actually really well done in his Superman run, but the story, everything wrapping the story is what sucks. And this is a good example of that. The wrapping of this story sucks. The meat of it's pretty good, but the wrapping and everything is you just find yourself unsatisfied because you had a pretty decent part of it, but the rest of it's undercooked. You know what I mean?
I feel like I went into this comic after being blueballed so much in the last one with the Batman Beyond and Spider-Man 2099 story that like, oh man, this would be like the cool setup for something really amazing. And so I kind of had that in mind when I was reading this stuff, like don't get too attached
Well,
to
that's the
any of
funny
these
thing.
stories.
That one so far is the only one that legit like blue balled me because that
Yeah.
one everything about it was gold, and then we're Endeavor it doesn't finish. The other one in the last one that did the same was the Superboy Prime Spider-Man one, and that one and this one are closer to like levels of disappointment in my head. If
Yeah.
that makes sense because I didn't really love the plot for that one either, outside of the interactions between Superboy and Spider-Man, the same way Superman and Spider-Man are here. Like I like that stuff, but outside of that, it didn't really impress me all that much. And they both end in a way that's just like, and then you never find out how they win because that story, them fighting that idea is so batshit insane. I don't know how they would win that, and you just assume they won. You don't really know why. You're just gonna assume they did because I don't know. I'm just gonna assume somebody else with more credentials fighting Dormammu showed up is really all I'm gonna hope for. Zatanna and Doctor Strange showed up going, "What is wrong with you two?"
Yeah, I'm sure something like that probably happened, but I'm I was also kind of glad for the story to end right after a moment I liked because my big fear when I ever find myself enjoying a Bendis comic is I'm like, okay, when is he going to mess this up? When is he going to mess this up? When is he going to mess this up? So when I get to the last page and he didn't ruin the story, I'm like, oh, relief. Bendis didn't ruin the good idea that he had.
Yeah, that is the better thing that happens. The next one is this one's actually I liked, but it was very strange in my opinion. But that's only
The,
because of the fact it's Jason Aaron, because Jason Aaron's the writer for this one. This one's called The Wondrous and the Worthy, and the art's done by Russell Dauterman, who also did a lot of his Thor run. The reason this one is a little iffy is more just because it throws a lot of ideas at you very quickly. The idea that Asgard was defeated by Apocalypse somehow, and that they're now waging war on Earth again, and there's a new Thor because Darkseid somehow defeated Thor? Question mark.
Yeah,
And
which I would love to see like Jason Aaron actually get to write a story of Asgard versus Apocalypse. Just me as like an old school Jack Kirby fan, I would love to read that story.
yeah, and it also has paravenoms. Like again, there's a lot of information at you at once. It's kind of funny because of the fact that he knows he only has so many pages that he just goes, "Here's what's happening. Here's all the things. Let's do this." And so it's a reimagining of Mighty Thor's origin, which is some people call her Mighty Thor.
Yeah, but
more than they call it normal Thor.
The Jane Foster Thor that was the inspiration for the movie with Natalie Portman. That was all part of Jason Aaron's massive Thor run. Who and now he's a Superman writer on Absolute Superman. So
Yes, and he did that. He did that great Bizarro storyline for Action Comics that I really liked. That I wish he would have done more for. But his Absolute Superman's great. And then so again, so kind of a reimagining of like why she becomes Thor instead of the original Sin stuff and all that stuff. And so she is now joined by Wonder Woman, who's also fighting the Paravenoms, and she feels unworthy. She's like, I'm Thor now, but I don't feel like I should be Thor. I'm just Jane Foster, cancer patient, because this is more in line with Jason Aaron's Jane Foster before she came back to life without her cancer, because she did die originally at the end of her original run. Spoiler, as well. She also dies in the movie too. So, but she got better as does most comic book characters too.
no one's ever really gone.
Exactly, and so it's a sweet story about Wonder Woman and Thor and Jane Foster Thor, of her being like, look, I don't feel worthy of this because you're Diana Themyscira, you're the ultimate fucking badass woman. You're a one woman army. You have the strength of all of the gods type of thing, and you're just the most humble motherfucker on the planet. And I love Wonder Woman being like, you are so brave, because the Lasso of Truth showed her who Jane was, and she sees a person who is dying, who's still fighting with all their might to save the universe. And that's another one that made me cry. In fact, I'm tearing up thinking about it now. It's great. And then it ends in this very fun kind of like sequel, like it's another one of those things that this could have been a blue ball, but I like what Jason Aaron does with it, which is that you're shown that it turns out that Darkseid has a fusion of the Necro sword.
Yeah, it's like the God Butcher sword. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the God Butcher Necro sword fused in with the anti-life. So it's now called the All Black Anti-Life Blade, which is a hell of a name.
Sounds like a badass weapon, if you ask me.
And then he says the most incel thing ever when he says, "Hand it over, female," which made me laugh out loud. I was like, I'm picturing Darkseid saying "hand it over, female" was such a funny fucking thing to hear. But the reason why this one doesn't blue ball me is the fact that like it ends in this wonderful kind of voiceover where he says, like you can hear like a storysmith saying this. It's like, over the years to come, many tales will be told of this day, stories that pass in the legend of how the greatest heroes of Midgar won the War of the Realms, led by an immortal Amazon with a magic lasso and the godly power of Earth itself, and a 90-pound cancer patient swinging a hammer. And I loved it because it was like, this story didn't blue ball me. It decided to be like, and then they won, and it was so fucking legendary that everyone still talks about to this day.
It's like,
and you find yourself just thinking about it. You're like, that's a story I would love to see one of these days, but your imagination's going to come up with the rest, man. And I love that.
It was like Jason Aaron is like, hey, I have like this epic saga imagined, but I only have like 5 or 6 pages to tell it, so just take my word for it. Like, whatever the coolest shit you can imagine, that's what this looks like.
And what's great is he clearly has like a team in mind, because it's in this image that you have up here. It's Spider-Gwen, Batman with a sword, Wolverine, Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, Supergirl, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, Superman, of course, and the Wonder Woman, Thor. It's just like, and you can your mind does the rest. You're just like, you can picture this little team of avenging Justice Leagues fucking coming together and just absolutely fucking whomping Darkseid's ass.
Yeah. I would read that crossover,
Yeah, I just absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. And then the ending, which is it's even more bittersweet because of the fact that Gary Conway has passed, because this story would have never happened without him.
Yeah, this one is really sad. Also, just it's a story about grief written by a man whose his son passed away. Like, I guess that was like 10 years, 15 years ago. But
he's died. He's been Jeff Loeb has never gotten over it. If you read a lot of his stuff, there's so much about grief in his stories that he never. There's pre Sam's passing, and there's post Sam's passing in Jeff Loeb's writing, and it's night and day. And I don't mean that as a bad thing necessarily, because Jeff's writing has just changed because of it. Yeah. But the story is just still wonderful, though. And it's actually, I think, the shortest story in the entire thing.
Yeah, and like Bendis, Jeff Loeb is a writer who sometimes he's really great and sometimes he's really frustrating. So I was not sure where I was going to land on this one either.
Same. I think this is an instance, so like you mentioned with Bendis, where they're like, please don't fuck up with your story that you're writing. And luckily they gave him only 2 pages, and he knocks it out of the park, in my opinion. Yeah. The artist for this is Jim Chung. He's done a lot of really good Superman stuff over the years. I don't think I've ever seen his Spider-Man before. What I like is that his Spider-Man is old school as fuck. Mm-hmm. His Spider-Man is like basically Amazing Spider-Man 1 Spider-Man. Big ass web wings. His eyes are very small.
Yeah, very Ditko. It's the Ditko Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's so old school, and I think that's really fun. And ironically, in a very sad story, which is that Spider-Man's hanging out on the George Washington Bridge. For people who don't know, that's the exact bridge where Gwen died. And it just says pre-dawn, meaning he's there very early in the morning.
Yeah, he's been there all night. Like,
yeah, he's been thinking about grief again. And Superman's just like, I saw you up here, and I was just kind of confused by that. Like, and he's just like, he's just like, did you I like that Spider-Man's like, did you ever have one of those days? And he's like, you got to be more specific about that, man. It's like, and he's just like, where you failed, someone died, someone you love died, and he's just like, yeah, but like we've all lost people. But what is this specifically about? And he opens up to him. He never says Gwen's name. He never says it was my girlfriend. He never says the love of my life. He just says she was my first love and she died. And I was supposed to protect her, but it's not so much that she died and they failed her. It's that he died or she died because of who he is, because of the very fact that he's Spider-Man. And Clark has this really good thing. He's just like, look, man, it's hard to be a hero. It's really hard. People get hurt. Everybody has, their version of grieving. There's no right way to grieve. We've all learned in life. And I love this line. You don't get a gold medal for best grief. And I love the fact that Spider-Man's just like, hey, I'm the one who fucking jokes. And he's like, that's not what I'm saying, man. And it's just it's this sweet little thing because it's clearly Jeff Loeb still going through his stuff even now. He still thinks about his son constantly, and he thinks about death and the fact that he's able to articulate it in a way that I think is clearly a man who's learned in his life what grief is more and more. And he's just like, it doesn't matter. Everybody dies at some point. You're born and you die. He's saying that my Paul told me those are the only two things that people are certain in life, which is hilarious because this is a comic book world and everybody keeps coming back to life. But he says it's what matters in between. Again, this is coming from a man who's died like 3 times.
True. I did not think of that, but
like he might as well. Like I really wish there was a moment where Spider-Man goes, "Motherfucker, didn't you die like 2 or 3 times?" He's like, "I'm not talking about that right now." But it's a great thing where he's like, "Look, all you have to do is be as good as you can between your life, the day you're born, and the day you die. It's what matters in between that. You'll have good days, you'll have bad days, but we do better as when we can, and we like to do better." And I do like he says we like better, we do like better, and he just sort of says take care, and he just flies away. And Peter's last thing is so Peter, where he just goes, that flying thing he does is so cool.
Well, it is cool to see like this, like you're saying, like it is very like old school Peter Parker. Like the look of the Spider-Man suit looks like it's straight out of one of the Steve Ditko issues, but it's also like the way that he doesn't open up and talk about like her name was Gwen Stacy and my name's Peter. It kind of reminded me like how Spider-Man used to interact with people, where he had to be like so private and so closed off because of the secret identity thing.
Yeah, and he was still very new to the idea. The one time he kind of let something slide, somebody died, and then it happened again. Yeah. And he's just like, I gotta be. Even with Superman, I can't just be like, "Hey, Superman, so this is my name, this is my address, this is who I'm dating currently." Like he can't. He feels uncomfortable with the very idea of something like that, and I think it's very. It's heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's very Spider-Man.
Like the death of Gwen Stacy for years and years, that was used in Spider-Man comics as like his motivation for like keeping his secret identity. Because yeah, those are the big deals. Like the Green Goblin was one of the few people who knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and then they bring that up here. Like she died because I'm Spider-Man. Like the Goblin targeted her because of that. So
yeah, when she died, there's there's a great line when she's just like, "The Goblin didn't kill her, I killed her," because he's in full grief mode. He's like, this didn't have to happen if I had just wasn't Spider-Man, is what he's saying to himself. Mm-hmm. So and I love that there's a cop. He says it, and there's a cop, and there's just like you heard it, he admitted. He's like, I'm seeing a man full of grief, and that's what I like about Superman's line here. He's like, nobody wins best grief type of thing. Like that's not, people's grief shouldn't be a competition. Like we've all lost people. I'm not telling you that she didn't matter. I'm telling you that it's better for her life that you live your life instead of focusing on the grief is kind of the idea.
Yeah, It just reminded me of like a lot of these older Spider-Man stories. It used to be kind of a frequent thing where he did have to be like so private and secretive, but there would be times when you need to connect to another human being for what, like here, like grieving a big loss like this. And it just felt like it just felt very like classic Spider-Man to me. It's kind of I'm someone who hasn't read a lot of Spider-Man comics in recent years because they've irritated the shit out of me. So I just stopped at some point. But I don't know.
I
This
get
makes
it.
me, yeah. It makes me want to like. Oh yeah, I do like love this character. Like there's like a lot of like unique things about Spider-Man you can't get with other superheroes, and I don't know. Makes me miss reading those stories.
Yeah, that's the thing. The whenever I read these crossovers, and I don't just mean these specifically, but like anytime he's written in something that isn't his own comics, I'm reminded why I love Spider-Man in a way that's kind of visceral, in a way that like I'm sitting here on a Superman podcast that we do constantly, but Spider-Man is still my main guy. Like even though I haven't really been collecting his stuff in the years the way I have been Superman stuff. Like if I don't know if any like if for anyone who knows me, like that's the reason I have Spider Mike as my thing, because that's for years I was known as the guy who read, collected, bought Spider-Man stuff up the wazoo. But in the past fucking almost 5-6 years or something, there was a turn where just Superman stuff started overtaking my shelves. That back there, the ones that have all my comics, it used to be like Superman and Spider-Man were neck and neck when it came to what I owned. And then one day Spider-Man just got bad and just stayed bad. And so I'm like, I don't want to own any of these in my house. I don't need this shit in my house. But all the Superman stuff, I'm like, well, I want that stuff. I want to hang on to that stuff. And so Superman's just overtook. And also DC's super good at reprinting old Superman stories.
They are now. They didn't used to be.
Even this is the thing. Even before that, they were still doing it more than Marvel does, because Marvel doesn't reprint anything. Like Marvel's just be like, well, you didn't buy that one comic 20 minutes ago, you're never going to see it again. Like, and they're still like that. That Spectacular Spider-Man run by J.M. DeMatteis that I wanted real bad. I bought the DC Marvel omnibus because I'd assumed it would sell out fast instead of the Spider-Man one, thinking, oh, that's a Spider-Man one. They're just going to keep making that one. That one sold out. They made one printing of it, and they've never made it again. Whereas the DC Marvel omnibus, I can find everywhere. I'm like, what's wrong with you, Marvel? They frustrate me to no end. And these comics are a great reminder to me why Spider-Man is considered one of the world's greatest superheroes, right next to Superman. The two of them are my guys, and these comics have been just a wonder to me. That's been one of my favorite things I've had in quite some time when it comes to Spider-Man. And it's very nice.
Makes me hope that they cross over again someday. We'll see how that goes.
The other thing that I wish they would have done, and I know it's because I know one of the reasons they probably didn't do it because it's so new, as well as the fact they're not going to continue on, is I would have loved for one of these crossovers to been Absolute Superman and Ultimate Spider-Man.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Like that would have been everything. If there was a cover for that, I would have bought that in seconds. Like the closest thing to a cover for that was Mark Cicchetto, the guy who did the Ultimate Spider-Man comic. He has his own specific cover for this one. It's just Spider-Man and Superman on the front of it. But the Spider-Man's very close to the way he draws Ultimate Spider-Man in that comic, but it's just normal Spider-Man because it doesn't have the same kind of coloring. But it's just normal Superman, so it's not the same. But if it was the two of them, I would have bought that shit in seconds. One of these, I would have. My other issue is that some of those covers are so they don't actually have anything to do with any of the stories that are in here. Like I wish there was a Superman family and Spider-Man family one fighting all their villains like some of the covers we've got. But there's nothing like that on any of these, as well as some of the other ones. There's no Silk story with Supergirl, even though that's a cover that you can buy, type of thing. And it's a little weird, but that's more because of what's on there. I still haven't read the Deadpool Batman ones. I should do that when I get a chance because there's some backstories too that I think I would have enjoyed. Because there's a Daredevil Green Arrow one in one of them, for instance, that I know, because there was a cover for it that I almost bought and I never ended up doing it. I should look into
Yeah,
that, see if it's
these
still
ma-
easy to find.
but I did the same thing back in March when we talked about the first Spider-Man Superman crossover. But reading these, it does make me want to go read the Deadpool Batman stuff. Just
Yeah, we just keep forgetting to, and because there's so many comics out, and
it's
Superman
hard to
stuff
keep
has
up.
been so wonderful, as well as well as the Absolute line. It's just been sucking
It's,
magical.
yeah, I'm thinking like at some point in this year, like after Supergirl comes out, and we've kind of talked about all the Supergirl stuff there is to talk about. I'm looking forward to where Absolute Superman is at that point in time, because it might be fun to go back and circle back and talk about those comics. They've done some interesting stuff in Absolute lately.
Yeah,
Uh,
they've done some like quick succession storylines, like where there's some stuff happens right away, and there's some interactions with some characters, but none of them have met. Superman hasn't met any of the other two Trinity characters so far. He's only met the one other, and I'm going to use quotey fingers hero because of who it is, and based on how it is in that storyline. And he's met one other one that you can kind of consider kind of hero-y right now. So I'm curious, but again, it depends on what you do with that. But I'm very excited to see where all that stuff goes, and I'm excited to see. I really want to see Clark meet Batman or Wonder Woman at some point. But
yeah,
as
I
you
mean it's
probably
gonna happen. I'm sure they have a plan for
yeah,
that.
there is clearly a plan because Wonder Woman and Batman have already met, and they already brought up Clark in that storyline where she's just like, "Should we reach out to the Superman?" I love when she says that. The panel turns into a Superman S shield in the panel to like show
Uh,
that who they're talking about.
And there's also been some cool things in the main universe Superman books. Like I haven't read it yet, but I'm holding in my hand issue number 12 of Superman Unlimited, which I'm hoping we are restoring Kid Jonathan Kent
I
back to the
want that.
Super family.
I want that to stick so fucking badly, guys. You have no goddamn idea how much I want that to stick because it feels like somebody at DC was like, "We did what? We we ruined the chance to have thousands upon thousands of merchandise for small children that people would have bought for like millions upon millions of dollars. Like, are you fucking with me right now?" Because that was the thing. The Super Sons was basically an excuse to print money
Yeah.
for young kids. You could have had Super Sons. You could have had Super Son fucking cereals by now and
Did,
movies and shit.
they
Two-pack
did like that
figures.
that animated movie, and I think
Yeah,
people
and
like
it was
that, right?
wonderful. Yeah, and they made the one. It's the thing. They could have made more. They could have made a bunch of those. We could have had like fucking 3 omnibuses by now
Do an
instead
animated
of the
series,
one.
like make a cartoon out of that.
It blows my mind that Dan Didio absolutely fucked one of. It's just on the platter, pure wonderful joy of the two sons of the world's greatest superheroes of their universe that could have just been a series forever. You could have watched these two characters grow up together and become a new dynamic duo. We could have had it all.
Well, maybe we will. Maybe they're gonna fix it. You don't know. So
Well, I get that with the way some of that stuff. I've been burned before, man, with people
just be
thinking
like
about trying to fix stuff.
the Jonathan Kent that was in all of that stuff that came back as an adult. He's just another Matrix alien, like 90s Supergirl. Just
Well,
he's,
have you read the issue yet?
no, I haven't.
Okay, there's a thing with the new Tomorrow Man that I thought was very interesting that happens in it. So I'm curious. That's the thing. I'm like, is this going to stick? And after you read it, you know exactly what I mean. Like,
Okay.
are they actually going to do it? Like,
We'll
is this
talk
for real,
after I
for
read
real?
it then, because
So
yeah,
I'm very. I want it so bad, man. And there's a lot of solicitations that show he's still around. So I'm hoping it sticks, man. I'm really fucking crossing my fingers. But I would give up. I'll give up the Warworld twins if I get Superboy Jonathan Kent back. I will throw them out the airlock if I get fucking Jonathan Superboy Kent back. Because nobody's seen those motherfuckers in forever. They're in the current Superman House of L story, but in main continuity, I don't think anybody's brought them up.
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with John and the rest of the Super family, but it should be some cool stuff to talk about soon. I know next week I'm gonna need to take off and not do a show next week because it's May the 4th, and me and Taylor are doing Star Wars stuff all day.
Okay, and it's also free comic book weekend, I think.
It is. That's Saturday.
So I'm letting the audience know, please find your local comic shop, find out if they're participating, and get whatever you can from them. Because some of them also have specials. They won't just do the free comic book days themselves. They'll have their own specials on that day. So
go get a lot of free stuff, but then like find something cool in there that you like, and get like one thing that you actually spend money on. But like all the free things. Buy
the best thing that you want. That's something that you've been wanting to look into. Whether it's a Superman comic, it's a Spider-Man comic, it's a hell, if it's a Venom comic, if it's a Carnage comic, fucking go for it. I don't judge you. I will judge you for certain ones, but that's not something you'll find at a comic shop. But I love when people read comics. I want more and more people to read comics, so we don't have to be online and have somebody be like, look at me. I understand more about Superman than you because I watched one episode of Superman 20 years ago and I don't remember it that well. It's like, I need you to quit it, man. Like, stop it.
Yeah. No, I've been like one time I was at a bar and I was overhearing someone give like the origin of like, well, you see like in the comics, Hawkeye and Black Widow were SHIELD agents at first before they came and worked for the Avengers. I'm like, no, that's not maybe like Ultimate Comics, but that's not the original Hawkeye and Black Widow. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, fool. So
yeah, I hear that so often. Somebody will be like, well, here's the thing about this character, and then they'll say the most insane shit you've ever heard in your life, and you're like, none of that's true. Everything you said is wrong, and everyone in this room is now dumber for hearing it.
For hearing it. Yeah.
The funniest thing about meeting somebody who doesn't read as many comics as I do is finding out that people don't know who Rick Jones is.
And he was a big deal. Like for Stan Lee, Rick Jones was a big character. He popped up in a lot that not just the Hulk.
He was a sidekick for the Hulk, the Avengers, Captain America. He was everyone's sidekick.
Yeah.
That motherfucker was Captain Marvel essentially at one point. That dude, damn, it's hilarious to me that we live in a world where nobody knows who Rick Jones is.
We need an MCU Rick Jones.
There were talks about retconning one of the characters into Rick Jones, but they ended up retconning him into Peter Parker's teacher. Because you remember Peter has that one teacher with the glasses and the beard. He's played that one comedian in the Spider-Man MCU films.
Uh-huh.
He is in the Incredible Hulk as a college student.
Oh.
And they retcon the idea that is just his character in college during the Incredible Hulk movie.
Okay. So yeah, like in 2008 he was in college, and then like nowadays he's a high school teacher. Yeah,
exactly. But at one point somebody wanted to retcon him into Rick Jones. But they ended up not doing that.
Rick Jones still to be potentially used in the MCU someday.
One of these days somebody will figure out what to do with Rick Jones in the MCU. The problem is I don't even know how you would now. We're so far past needing Rick Jones for anything. In fact, Spider-Man accidentally became more Rick Jones-like.
I was thinking that, yeah. He becomes everyone's sidekick, or at least Iron Man's for a little bit. But, yeah, I'm not sure. But I want to point out that in 2 weeks on May 11th, we can reconvene to finally talk about the Helen Slater Supergirl movie, if that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to do that. And I'm going to see if I can find this extended edition everybody keeps talking about, because I'm curious as to what is different about it.
So I liked the movie as a little kid. I had a big crush on Helen Slater. I thought she was cute, and there's still a lot of things in that movie I think I can compliment. I don't think it's like the total shit show that a lot of people make it out to be, but it is definitely a batshit insane movie. It has some bonkers stuff.
Yeah, the thing about that movie is more just what the movie is once they're done. Because you're just like, I don't understand what has happened here. I watched this movie, but I don't know what happened. It's very interesting that way. And now knowing what Supergirl's original origins and stuff are, I'm curious to see because it's been a bit since I've watched it. I watched it a few times as a kid before I knew any better, type of thing. Because that's the type of reason I watched it a few times. But knowing it now, it's going to be really interesting to see what my thoughts are on it now.
And it is currently streaming on Max, so it's easy to watch. So
Yes,
everyone should go watch it and then come back in 2 weeks and we'll talk
I think the
about it.
extended one is on YouTube too. If you can, you think you
There
can
you
rent
go.
it or something. I think so. I think I'll have to check again. But there's a lot of ways of watching it. They sell 4Ks of it nowadays. There's a lot of different things we can do with it. And Helen Slater, she's had a huge impact on Supergirl. Even now, she was in the Supergirl CW show actually, as Supergirl's adoptive mom.
I think she was in Smallville too.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, she Smallville got like everyone, even Dean Cain's in Smallville.
I mean, it was on for 10 years, so they had plenty of time.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they even had Margot Kidder. They had Christopher Reeve. They had I could mention they had Dean Cain of all people.
Yeah, but she was Laura L in Smallville.
Oh, she was okay. That's interesting. I didn't realize she was his mom. Oh, I bet you I know which episode too. Then, that's the case. That's pretty fun. Yeah, there's a lot of really great Smallville Superman alumni in Smallville. Smallville was really good about that.
Yeah, and now all the Smallville actors can show up in all this new stuff. Like Michael Rosenbaum had a voiceover cameo in the Superman movie last year.
Yeah, but that's because him and James Gunn are good friends.
Yeah.
So I would love for Tom Welling to show up randomly.
That'd be cool.
Because the David Cornsweet really looks up to Tom Welling actually.
Yeah, and it makes sense because, and same thing with like Nicholas Hoult, but they were saying like when we were kids, like we were watching Smallville, like that show was the new show coming out. So
yeah, exactly. That's the reason I don't begrudge anyone who was young who watched Man of Steel and that was their thing, because that's their thing.
Yeah,
they watched it and that was their favorite thing, and now they're edgelords, and I'm not going to stop them from it.
Well, I guess we all have our own Superman, but yeah, we'll have some Supergirl talk in 2 weeks. Looking forward to that. I think we're ready to sign off. Unless you have anything you want to get on the record before we call it quits.
I would just say, if you guys can get a chance, please buy these comics. If you have a chance to, these are going to be collected eventually. We know that Marvel's coming out with one called Dead of Night, as well as there's the facsimiles for the original Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man by Gary Conway, if you can still find those, as well as the omnibus for all of the DC Marvel crossovers that they were able to put in there that have the other two Superman Spider-Man crossovers that exist outside of these current ones. And it doesn't have that weird one with Venom in it, but that you don't really need to read that one.
No one needs to read it. I remember when that one came out, and I thought it was weird then. So.
Fucking weird as shit. And again, as I mentioned, please read Absolute Superman. And if you want to read Spider-Man comics, I'd say wait, or go back and read some of the
old ones. Yeah, there's a lot of
epic collections that are out there. And if there's any new ones that you're reading, find anything that J.M. DeMatteis has written, because they have been giving him a lot of work for Spider-Man.
Yeah, go read Life Story.
Yeah, really great story. There's a lot of miniseries that that J.M. DeMatteis wrote. In fact, he did the Spider-Man animated series sequel comic they made recently. So I would say read that, because it's probably going to be better than what you're going to get from normal Spider-Man. So yeah.
But Helen Slater, Supergirl 1984 in 2 weeks. And until then, as always, keep it super, y'all.